Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Batman Superman World's Finest issue 29 by Mark Waid, Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain. The World's Finest's battle with Doom-Mite comes to a climactic conclusion this issue as the returned Batman and Superman confront the Imp, only to have Batman turned into a puppet. Doom-Mite decides that he likes this Earth and wants to stay, so he's going to shape it into his own playground, and there is seemingly nothing the heroes can do. Luckily Robin gets an idea and convinces Mxyzptlk to take back his powers from Jimmy and go with Bat-Mite to gather up every magical user on Earth so they can combat the Imp while Superman and Robin stall for time. I found the opening structure of this issue really strange because it felt like the first couple of pages were extracts from the last issue. They should have been like the last couple of pages of that issue where, you know, Batman is turned into the puppet and the heroes are like, oh, what are we gonna do? What do we do now? And then you cut back to this issue and start with Robin coming up with an idea or a plan to stop Doom-Mite. It just felt very strange that we cut back to Batman being turned into a puppet and then a couple of pages of the heroes just reiterating things we already know. They're losing, you know, nothing they can do, and then it gets into the stories. Very strange. I do like though that Mark Waid continues to use Robin really well here and making him almost like the third part of the World's Finest team here with Batman and Superman. And really he is, you know, he's Batman's partner, he's Batman's sidekick, so he's gonna be around. So I like that he's using him here to help forward the story and actually play a big part in stopping the main villain. Speaking of the main villain, it's a really strange one because while the book itself has been very nicely paced, the real threat, this Doom-Mite, hasn't really been present all that much. Like, we barely spend any time with the villain, and after all of the build up where he, you know, killed some imps in the back pages of some old other World's Finest and he was like kind of bigged up, you know, was this hooded being like, who is he? And then we just kind of get this and it's kind of nothing. It never really went anywhere. We never got to explore who this character is, why they are really doing this beyond trying to be the best there ever was. It's really strange for Waid because usually he's pretty great at making compelling villains. Now on the other hand, this could actually all be on purpose, thanks to the villain being from the 6th dimension, and he is constantly making comments about how everyone from these other dimensions is beneath him, you know, he's the best there ever is. And I like to think there is some sort of thing there where he thinks he's, you know, 6th dimensional, he's multi-dimensional, but really he's just some one-dimensional being with no real character. I don't know if that's really the whole thing that's going on with this issue, since it would have been signposted a little bit more if it was, but it's a pretty cool concept to think about, and it would kind of make sense in the whole idea of this 6th dimensional being coming to a lesser dimension and thinking he's the best where he's not. But I just think it comes down to maybe Doom-Mite being an underwritten character, since this would have been written while Mark Waid was probably neck deep in absolute power stuff, so, you know, one thing would have had to have taken precedence over the other. The Imps meanwhile head out into the world and gather Zatanna, Dr. Fate, Johnny Thunder, Dr. Occult and Prince Rahman as Superman, ever the hero, confronts Doom-Mite, challenging him to a fair fight. Of course, Doom-Mite thrashes Superman, being that he's a magical being from a different dimension. You know, there's a bunch of Superman's weaknesses there. But of course, Superman doesn't give up, and he gets a great line where the villain wonders why he's even defending this world since his world blew up and he's not even from Earth. But Superman thinks he is from Earth. He knows he is from Earth because he was raised there, and I like that very much. Luckily for Superman, Jimmy and Robin, Mixie and Bat-Mite all return with the magical users, tangling Doom-Mite in magical bonds that are made quite literally from the continuity of the DCU. They tangle him up with 6th dimensional energy, and the 6th dimension is where all of time merges together. This is all part of Robin's plan to pull the 6th dimension out of the Imp's body and render him powerless. Now, this is the type of stuff I love. It's creative, it's just wacky Saturday morning cartoon stuff. Waid has done this from issue 1, so there's this great consistency with the issues being just really just mashing together of action figures, which is what this series kind of should be. It's Batman and Superman coming together for a team up. It should be fun. This also gives Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain a chance to cut loose with some of the pages that get real creative with how they depict certain things like the 6th dimension and all these other dimensions. I like here that we see the ropes they are using, and they're literally made of like panels from other comics that I believe Dan Mora has drawn. They're all Dan Mora artwork. So they're stuff like the Super Sons, Doomsday and the Brainiac Queen and all stuff from all over the DCU. Thanks to pulling the sixth dimension from Doom-Mite, Batman begins to turn back into a human, but not before the heroes go through rapid changes thanks to pulling on time itself. And this again leads to more Dan Mora greatness, where we see characters shift, like Batman shifts from, you know, the classic Batman we've had throughout the series into the Frank Miller Batman, and then into a future Nightwing, and then Superman shifts into the Legion of Superheroes Superboy, and all these other great iterations of the characters from throughout time. And it's a great way to visualize, you know, that sort of timeline. You know, with these characters changing, you can kind of pinpoint where they are from. Of course, the villain might be still too powerful, and realizing they're about to lose, the Bat-Mite takes one for the team and delivers the final blow, shattering Doom-Mite quite literally into a visualized sound effect from the 1960s Batman show. With Doom-Mite defeated, the team find that Bat-Mite might have actually sacrificed himself to ensure that they won, and Batman gets a really great speech eulogizing the Imp and reminding the Imp that their world has real evil and stakes, and Bat-Mite showed courage in facing that. Of course, Bat-Mite didn't die though, and was only blown out of his costume by the explosion, which, when he reappears to Batman again, causes the hero to burst into laughter, something which you never really see Batman do. Wade cleverly reveals Bat-Mite's secret identity, quote unquote, and we find out that Batman's biggest fan is actually an imp version of Superman. This is such a fun reveal, and it makes a lot of sense. Superman really is Batman's biggest fan, you know, he's his hype man, and vice versa as well. I quite like that they've done that, and I like that it's not some sort of mean-spirited joke where it's like, Superman loves Batman, he, you know, is, you know, riling up fans sort of thing. It's not done like that at all. It's done because they're friends. Of course, Superman loves supporting his friends, and I like that they've visualized that here with Bat-Mite. And I don't think we've actually seen Bat-Mite without his mask on, so this is pretty neat. Of course, now that Bat-Mite isn't dead, Batman is quick to remind him that he needs to go home and kind of find fulfillment in his life in his world, not in their world, because their world is a bit too real for him at the moment. And again, it's this kind of meta commentary that Wade has been running throughout this entire arc, where he is kind of talking to fans and how fans viewed comics, you know, say 10, 20 years ago. It's not the same as it is now. Things change. The world gets, you know, lighter or darker, you know, it depends. It comes in cycles. And I think that's what a lot of fans need to realize. Because again, Bat-Mite and Mixel Spitlick are super fans of these characters, and they were constantly arguing with one another about how to deal with Batman and Superman, and you know, which one is better and which one isn't and everything. And I like that Wade is tackling that here in the meta commentary with Batman, telling him that things change, and you know, we can't really stay the same, we have to evolve. But of course, even though Batman gives him a stern talking to, he does still have a soft spot for Bat-Mite, and ends up hanging his costume in the Batcave with the rest of the costumes, all of which are like really cool, like again references to things that we've seen in the past, like the animated series Batsuit from the mid 2000s, and the Teen Titans Robin costumes. All great stuff, and a great way to end the arc as well. They're very happy ending to this arc. Despite a slightly underwritten main villain, Wade, Mora, and Bond villain's latest arc on World's Finest was damn good fun that expanded on the Imp's role beyond just mischievous villains, giving them a little bit more depth, and also writing a little bit more of a meta commentary story with them about fans and fan wars. The book was also filled with lots of creative action sequences that let Dan Mora and Tamara Bond villains stretch their artistic muscles to the extreme, and hopefully the next couple of arcs can even top this, because this arc was full of so many cool visuals and really creative ways to show stuff like 2D planes and different dimensions. It's going to be hard to top this arc. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.